Hey everybody, Elizabeth Nader back with you again, the Nader Narrative, having one of my favorite people on again, Mark Razzoli. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Elizabeth. It's great to be here.
Love to talk to you. You always bring it. You're always in the middle of the fight for freedom, for parents, for everything. Councilman in Old Bridge, you have served well for 4 years. You're running again. So we're going to talk about your candidacy. We're going to talk about the issues in Old Bridge. But for everyone in Old Bridge, if you don't know Mark, I don't know where you've been, because everybody knows him across the state. But he has served really well in council for 4 years, retired detective, father, sports coach, great guy, fighting for freedoms. You've been out there strong with your voice. We really appreciate you in all parts of the state, frankly. But we want to make sure everybody in Old Bridge knows that you need to be the one they're voting for. So, Mark, let's get into it. First of all, I want you to share with people what you've been able to achieve. And these are incredibly important things as a councilman for the past 4 years for Old Bridge, what you have been able to do for your community.
Yeah, sure. I think, well, first of all, let's get standing up for parents and children has probably been one of my most important things I've ever done. So
Yeah.
I was very proud to stand with the parents and children to get the schools back open again.
Right.
But as far as, achievements here, I think zero tax increase is the gold standard of municipal politics, even though opposition says otherwise. I fought like hell to get the homestead rebate senior tax freeze funded.
Yep.
Phil Murphy wasn't going to fund that for a while till we brought that to public attention. It was on the front page of the Home News Tribune, and we got a lot of people called in, a lot of support, and that's the way it should be. Working with the community to do what's right for the community.
Absolutely.
Following policies that really aren't about the community.
Well, and not only that, you're a huge supporter of the police, obviously. I mean, you come from that, but it matters. It really, really matters.
Well, I think, Elizabeth, here's the thing.
Yeah.
People don't understand the foundation for any municipality is public safety. You have nothing without public safety. You have no local economy. Most of the time when you have an unsafe municipality, usually the school system's not good. Sure. So it drives everything within the community. That's why I stress upon it so much. And the reality is, though, if any individual wants to hold office on any level, municipal, county, state, federal, your number one priority is national security, public safety.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And if you can't comprehend that, then you're unfit to serve, even on the board. Also, it doesn't matter where you hold office.
Well, it affects all areas of life, right, in the town. And I think I saw somewhere that you guys were ranked like the 15th safest township in the country. Is that true?
Listen, our town is 15th safest, and we continue to improve on it. That only happens with great relationships between the police department and the community. I mean, we have a great community. Let's face the facts. Working hand in hand, that's what really makes a community safe. And our police department works great with our community.
Well, you have a lot of respect for them, and I know they do for you as well, which really, really matters. So we've got that in Old Bridge. Absolutely, you've done an amazing job. You care about the seniors. You care about their tax burden. You care about, there's a center there that's an accredited senior center. I think it's one of the best in the state. You've delivered a lot, but the fight recently, as everyone knows, has been for parents, for parental rights, for the schools, getting them open, for getting these masks off the children. So talk about your experience in these past 19 months with the pandemic. I mean, can you ever imagine that you'd be fighting for really such important things like just the right of parents to educate children the way they want to? It's crazy.
I never thought holding office, I would have to fight for that. I really didn't. So there's a lot of misinformation, let's face it, lies being put out into the community about me and my fellow Republicans on council. Here's the facts. We were allowing the Board of Ed to try to work this out. And the reality of it is they didn't. They had no plan, no reopening plan.
Yeah.
The parents came to me, asked for a meeting. I was not going to turn my back on parents and children. I'm just not like that. It's not in my DNA.
Right.
Okay. I'm there to represent for those who can't defend themselves. And the reality of it is, the Board of Ed wasn't doing anything. They had a reopening task force that was not interested in reopening. And you know how I know that? Because parents that wanted told me.
Yeah.
Every time they brought up reopening, they got resistance. They got pushback.
Right.
Okay. And the pushback was coming from the local teachers union. And with that said, doesn't mean all the teachers were. They also want to put a spin on it when they say, when I had mentioned the NJEA, doesn't mean I'm anti-teacher. It means I'm NJEA who has purchased access to our governor.
That's
And that's
right.
a fact.
Absolutely. Yes.
There's no one out there that elected the NJEA to govern our state.
No.
Maybe a lot of elected officials are afraid to say it, but I'm not.
Good for you.
That's a fact.
Good for you. The teachers are amazing. We have great teachers. The union, not so much. And they have been in control and they don't care about our kids and they manipulate this governor and he loves their paychecks that they send to him. So we know where that's coming from. So you're fighting for the parents and this reopening committee really wasn't reopening. Now, this is no small thing. We need to bring up your competitor. And I usually don't do that because there's so much with the candidates. You have so much experience. You've done such a great job. We don't really need to talk about the competitor, but we're going to in this case. Because here's what's ironic and interesting. After everything you've been fighting for, she's from the Board of Education. So tell us a little bit about her because, wow, what a difference between two choices here.
Yeah, I mean, she's come out and said she supports Phil Murphy's medical mandates, which is absurd.
Absurd.
She confronts concerned parents after Board of Ed meetings, which they're trying to paint me as, when the only rec you have to run is not bad, it's horrific. Paint your opponent as someone to run away from. And the reality of it is, she's done nothing but raise taxes. The Board of Ed in 10 years have raised taxes $18 million. They closed a blue ribbon school, Cheesequake School. They said it was unsafe. They're now leasing it to Sayreville for $500,000 a year. So how is that unsafe school available to be leased?
Right.
So it just, the misinformation is being put out there because, they have no record to run on.
No, it's true. Well, actually, her record is not good. Let's be honest. Jill DeCaro. So some of the things she's trying to say about you, one of them really amused me, saying that you wanted to obstruct elections because you are for voter ID. So how does that obstruct an election?
Well, that's correct. I mean, they try to put a spin on that. I co-sponsored with Councilwoman Anita Greenberg-Bell a resolution calling for voter ID. So now, now their messaging now is that I'm trying to obstruct elections. Furthest thing from the truth. I think everyone wants voter ID. You need voter ID to purchase alcohol, go into Costco, BJ's. What's wrong with having voter ID? I think defending the integrity of the election process should be what every American wants.
Right.
Because that's the reality. American citizens should be voting.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to insult any group of people by saying they have a hard time getting any kind of ID to vote doesn't make any sense. It makes you wonder what their real agenda is. Well, I don't wonder. We know what it is. So that we know isn't true. And you've been fighting for obviously fair and transparent elections by saying, we need voter ID. Coming after you also in other areas, fighting for parents. She wants cops out of school. How important is it for us to have safe schools?
Listen, we implemented that because of obviously the rash of school shootings. Yeah. I actually amended the table of organization on the police department and added a sergeant so there'd be proper supervision over the school officers.
Right.
So, we were on the forefront of putting police officers in the school. So, her campaign manager calls in and puts a post that they're doing secretarial duties in school that should be taken out of the school. I don't know how the president of the Board of Ed campaign can actually say that. It's absurd. It should be insulting to all the parents out there.
So she's against parental rights. She's against medical freedom. She's against getting our children to breathe oxygen. She's really not for opening the schools quickly from the situation we've been in. She's against safety in schools. She's against free and fair elections, so to speak, in terms of transparency. So what is she for and how is she qualified to run Old Bridge in the same way and successful manner it's been run?
Well, it seems the only thing she's for is about running a campaign of slander on me, but she's not even remotely qualified. Listen, let's even go further. She mentions that it's always about excuses. So she mentions how the governor cut funding to New Jersey. Well, I sponsored a resolution opposing any reduction of funding to our school district. Not a single member of the Board of Ed came to that council meeting or the superintendent to support me on that. Not one. But not a short time after, they were up at my opponent, Jill DeCaro, and another member of the Board of Ed went to a diner in Sayreville to support one of Phil Murphy's so-called economic policies. So obviously, the big difference between her and I, just so everybody out there, I understand I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. She believes she took an oath to support and defend party ideology written by Phil Murphy. That's the big difference.
Yeah. That's a huge difference. And by the way, we shouldn't have partisan people on the Board of Education. I mean, that alone, the fact that she's partisan serving on a board is really unfortunate.
She's also Old Bridge Democratic County Committee.
Ah, well, there you go. Okay.
So,
all right. So enough about her, Mark, because you have such an incredible record to stand on. So we know what you've accomplished, a lot more than what we even said. What is your vision for Old Bridge? You've done so much in 4 years. So tell the people, tell your constituents what you see in terms of a vision going forward for this town.
listen, I think myself and my colleagues, we're committed to keeping Old Bridge affordable and safe. I think, grandparents have the right to stay in this town and watch their grandchildren grow up.
Yeah.
We owe that to them. Our residents, our parents, our children need a strong voice. And I am that strong voice. I've been that strong voice. Maybe controversial to some, but guess what? I wasn't elected to abstain from things. I was elected to take a stand on things.
Right.
And unfortunately, if it doesn't fit someone's political narrative, I'm a racist. I'm corrupt. I harass people. I'm a criminal. Well, listen, evidence is not someone calling on the phone and step into a microphone and making outrageous allegations. In the real world, you need evidence to make these claims.
That's right.
It is what it is. You know what? I've been called worse throughout my law enforcement career. Obviously, it doesn't intimidate me in any way. I'm going to continue to push because, listen, this election is really about we the people, right? This is our state.
That's right.
And how good people are heard. You need to get out to vote.
Yes, please.
That's what you need to do. I tell people, let's continue to work together to keep Old Bridge safe and prosperous. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, we have great sports leagues, the amount of volunteers in those leagues, everybody does such a great job.
Yeah.
And listen, the 1% on social media calling everybody names, I mean, it's not even worth addressing, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it is the 1%.
It's pathetic.
Yeah, it's pathetic. It's probably less than 1%. How is small business doing in Old Bridge? I know everybody got hit hard by the pandemic. How have they fared lately?
Listen, I mean, some of them were hurt, obviously. Myself and the council president, Mary Soha, we went around actually doing videos during the lockdown to remind people, about the small businesses. And the Old Bridge Democrats criticized me for it. They said I was in violation of a shelter-in-place order. I'm still waiting to have that order produced, but we try to help our businesses any way possible. We promote them. We do direcent events. We always are helping our businesses. Our business director Steve Mattis does a great job. Getting out there, bringing business. I'm on the redevelopment committee, and we're trying to bring as much clean ratables into the town while maintaining that, open space.
Right.
But, we want to bring that ratable into town where it's not a burden on our services, it's not burning on our school and everything. So, that's what we continue to work at. Everything we do is to help our community. Yeah. There's nothing, we don't do anything for ourselves. It's all about community.
Yep. And Old Bridge is a great place. It's only going to get better. So we have businesses coming back, and obviously you're looking to help them in pro-business, pro-law enforcement, pro-safe schools, pro-parental rights, pro-medical freedom, pro-elections that are transparent and fair. Sounds like a great agenda. Mark, as a closing to all the constituents, and by the way, anybody listening from Old Bridge, you've got to make sure you go vote. And those of you who know people in Old Bridge, please share this video. So Mark, as a last comment to the constituents, what do you want to tell them?
Listen, I'm a leader, not a follower. There's no one who's going to fight harder for the Old Bridge community than me. I mean, I have a record of that. That's a fact.
Yeah.
I deal in fact, not fiction. I think you do too. I think it's really important. And I also just want to add these medical mandates, they're so unconstitutional. And what they're doing to our children, I don't think, for the board, for my opponent, the president of the Board of Ed, to say I support Phil Murphy's mandates. I mean, that is so insulting, outrageous.
Outrageous.
She wasn't elected to represent Phil Murphy, the NJEA. No. She was elected to represent the parents and advocate for the children. And sometimes you have to take a stand to defend children. Yeah. I understand that. I lived it. I'm coming from a law enforcement background. I understand the best eyes and ears are the people in the community. So that's what it's all about. And I have no problem at all. No problem standing up for our children. To me, there isn't a more noble cause.
Yeah.
And I know you're about the same thing, medical freedom. And I think, the people really need to take this state back. It's so important they get out to vote.
Yep, absolutely.
It starts locally, right? We have to defend Old Bridge against the radical left. I mean, the Old Bridge Democrats, they wanted to defund the police, cops out of the school. They want needle exchanges in the school. I mean, in the township, rather, excuse me.
Wow.
Now all of a sudden they want to run from these policies when it comes time to answer to the voter. They were never supporting that. Here's what I tell everyone: go back all the videotape of the council meetings. You'll hear them disrupting the council meetings, whether it's by phone, in person, holding anti-cop protests outside town hall, calling members of council race, just outrageous things. Just trying to play into that national narrative to try to win a campaign. Now that it's not working, they're all running away from it. And that's a fact.
Yeah, it's not working. And so, conclusively, Old Bridge, this is your guy. He is. He's been there. You've seen his face. You've heard his voice. And I can tell you that Mark is always on the forefront of fighting for everything that matters. He's got his pulse on everything locally in the state, even nationally. He's one of these people that we need. Mark, you're very valuable, a great freedom fighter. And everyone vote. Tomorrow is not open at the polls, but Tuesday is. So if you haven't voted yet, please go on Tuesday, because we can't change anything unless we vote. And so share this video. Mark, you're the best. You always get me excited. It's so encouraging to know people like you are out there. Keep fighting for all of us.
Thank you. Vote Column B for the best.
There you go. Column B for the best. Old Bridge, share this video. Mark, thank you so much. Can't wait to celebrate with you on Wednesday.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.